My mom, like this morning, before coming to the panel, I noticed that I had this pimple, and my mom helped me put concealer on my face. And she's like, this isn't gonna make your pimple go away, but it'll look less dark. It'll be like less distracting. So, it's great. But see, recently something happened that made me think a little bit more about like my dynamic at home. And this has to do with this other person who lives under our roof, and this is Kala. Kala is our helping hand. My mom told me not to use the word maid. Kala is our helping hand. She stays with us, she cooks for us, she does everything. She's really hardworking, she's the sweetest woman ever. But recently, she kind of did something that was shocking. Kala ran away with 40,000 taka. She borrowed 40,000 taka from home, and she just kind of left. I have to tell you this other thing at this point. Sometimes when I talk, I exaggerate things a little. So Kala didn't really have the big bags of money with the dollar signs. When she stole the money, she actually just Bcashed it to her village. It was a lot simpler than that. She did wear sunglasses. She had an eye infection. So the sunglasses, guys, the truth lies in between, So, yeah, she did wear sunglasses. Yeah. So yeah, when Kala left, we realized that Kala used to cook dinner for us, and we realized that we have to sort of make food ourselves or get takeout. And my mom was usually always like busy. She had work and I had work. So ever since Kala left was actually the first time we started having dinner together. And just sitting there, me and my mom, we didn't really have a lot to talk about. We were just like sitting there eating at this huge table, which is actually for a lot more people. And like the first week, my mom was complaining a lot about Kala leaving, like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then a couple of weeks passed, and I realized that we were still talking about the same thing. My mom was still really upset about Kala leaving, and I realized it wasn't just an inconvenience. I think that the two of them were actually really close. Like when my mom comes back from school, when she comes back from work, she's a teacher. She has a really bad day, she puts it out on Kala. And when she has a good day, they watch like Bangla soap operas together. And sometimes like my mom will miss an episode of Bochena She Bochena, so Kala will watch it for my mom, and then she'll give my mom a recap of the episode. So I don't know, that was kind of sad to think about, because it's like I felt like the person who's paid to live in our house has more of a connection with my mom than I do. And that kind of sucked to think like that, right? But I guess that happens, like you have people around and then suddenly they leave, and it's just not just an inconvenience, it like kind of sucks. But that's kind of something I'm used to. See, the first time someone left in my life, I was 11. I was 11 years old, and I was like running around the house without any pants. And I see there are a lot of people at home, like I have a lot of guests over, and everyone's like, Nuhash, like, why aren't you wearing pants? And I'm like, what are you talking? I'm 11, why would I be wearing pants? And they said, Nuhash, your sister is getting engaged today, so put some pants on. And I didn't know what that word meant, engaged, right? So I asked my other sister, I have 3 sisters, so I asked my other sister what engaged meant, and this sister, she's really good at, she was always really good at explaining things to me that I didn't understand. And she told me, Nuhash, it's sort of like when you call someone on the phone and they're on the other line. So your sister is going to be busy with a new family from now on. Like she's going to be engaged, and it's not going to be the same. And that really sucked, because my sister was my best friend. Like we'd listen to like music together. There was this like stereo thing, and you'd have like the little cassettes, and we'd like listen to music, and she'd teach me how to draw. We used to have a great time together, and I'm like, wow, I'm kind of losing my best friend, And yeah, sure, like I'm still really close with all my sisters, but it's not the same anymore, because like I was sort of like the little kid in the family. I was sort of like their kid, because they were all a lot older than me, and now they all have their own kids and they all have their own lives, and so from 11 on, like my other sister got married, like my second sister, she got married, and then she had a family of her own, and then my other sister left and she had a family of her own. And then my father, he left too, and he had his own family. So for me, like when I say that family means different things to different people, for me, family was never the thing that I have, but more the thing that other people leave me for. because I've always seen people leave me for other families. So I'm like, I don't know, the word family, it doesn't, I guess it doesn't have that like warm ring to it that it has for a lot of other people. But like, that's fine too, because people leaving isn't really that sad, because it's actually the easiest thing to deal with, if you really think about it. Like, all the greatest art and literature and poetry or films, it's about someone leaving. It's about like, oh, relationships or family or, you know, hope leaving you or you losing yourself or whatever, because it's really easy to romanticize the idea of things leaving. It's like easy to cope with. But what's harder is, you know, when someone's right there, you're in a relationship or you're in a house and you're with people and they're there, but you're still trying to find a way to connect to them, right? Isn't that harder than people leaving when they're there and you still feel like you're still trying to figure out whether like it's working out for you? And I felt that way so many times, you know, in relationships, you know, with friends, with people who are around, you know, because I think that's what miscommunication really comes to, when you're there but you feel like you're not. And like, that's something that these days, me and my mom, we really try to work towards. You know, we try to spend more time together, and we try to find like that space for ourselves. And I think that's so, you know, important. But I would say, you know, there was a time when this feeling of, you know, being in this family, being somewhere where you feel like you feel sort of like a stranger. I think that got really intense. Like I think it was about a year back. So it was my birthday. Like, it was gonna be my birthday. My birthday is on 1st of January. So it was the 31st. So I usually spend 31st with my friends. Like, I initially spend it with my family, and then I go with my friends, and you know, they'll have cakes and fireworks and all this stuff, because it's both the New Year's and it's my birthday. So yeah, I was really excited about that, and my friends were throwing this party for me, and it was like, I think it was sort of for the first time, it was my school friends and my university friends. They all came together, and they were like having this whole party, and they were like waiting on me, because it was New Year's and they were waiting for me to come. It was like 11 at night, and I was like, that's so cool. It's like everyone I know. I don't have a lot of friends, so it's everyone I know coming. It's like the Avengers. That's awesome. You know, I was really excited about it. And right before I left, I think like my family had an intervention with me, right? So they heard these like really random rumors that apparently like I'm into drugs and I'm like an alcoholic and I'm like doing all these crazy things. And you know, I guess that happens in Dhaka, where people say stuff about you. People like spread rumors. And you know, this was a time where I wasn't really going to university a lot. I was skipping a lot of classes and I was staying home a lot. So maybe they were concerned. You know, they were really thinking about it. They were really concerned, and they sort of sat me down and they had an intervention. They were trying to tell me, you know, they were trying to figure out whether I'm doing drugs and whether I'm doing all these terrible things. And you know, I understand it came from like a place of concern, but I got really like, I'm like, guys, it's my birthday. Like, can we not do this tonight? And they're like, no, you're probably going, you know, with your friends, and I don't know what your friends are like. Maybe they're gonna do some, I don't know what you guys are gonna do. And I'm just like, you know, I had such a difficult time telling them that I'm not depressed because of drugs or alcohol. I'm depressed because of a relationship. I was with someone and it didn't work out, and it really affected me. And somehow it's easier for families to think that you're doing drugs or addicted to something than to just believe that you're just bummed out. Like, it's a relationship. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes you're just sitting. Sometimes I go out in the middle of the night to a restaurant, like something that stays open till 11, and I sit there and I eat alone. That's what I used to do. And I'm like, how do I, like, is anyone going to believe me if I say that, you know? And I had such a difficult time communicating that, right? And I, like, you know, I got angry, like, we all got excited, and, you know, there was a lot of pointing and shouting, and you know, it was crazy, it was intense. And the thing that I wanted to communicate the most was that, like, my friends are the most supportive people in my life. Like, they both support me in the stuff that I do. Like, I didn't know what shoes to wear today. Right? For some reason, that was a big deal to me. And I was sending pictures of my shoes to my best friend, and she was like, yeah, you should wear this one, but your pants are too long, you shouldn't wear those pants. So I don't know, they're supportive, they help me out with stuff, you know. And I feel like we have this culture here where we think that, oh, whichever circle you're mixing with, they're probably not good for you. And I didn't know how to tell my family that, guys, these people in my life are the only reason that I'm not even worse, right? And I didn't know how to say that. And it's so crazy that, the relationships in your life that affect you the most are the ones that you can't really express. Those are the ones that are most difficult to talk about. But I think the hardest part wasn't that bad of a fight. It wasn't like crazy. The hardest part was the next day. We had this like family dinner, and we had to pretend like everything is just fine, right? Because that's what we do. We don't resolve conflict. Sometimes we do say sorry, we do say I love you, but we don't really talk it out, right? So next day was just like, oh yeah, it's dinner and then the picture, but that's what I felt bad about, that there was really no resolution. Anyway, so a couple of months passed after that whole thing. It was, I think, around February, and I was invited to this art exhibition to participate. It was called Invisibellas. Was anyone like you guys? Yeah. So it was great. It was about women. It was about like empowering women, and like it was for Women's Day. So Istela and some other people came up to me and like, oh, do you want to do something to empower women? I'm like, yeah, always, yeah, absolutely. And it was great. But then I didn't really know what to do for my installation at the exhibition. So I was thinking about that, and I ended up doing this little graphic novel that was part of the installation. It was there, and you just sort of read it. And it was sort of like a journey of my life through the woman in my life. It was about my relationship with my mom and my sisters and girlfriends and all of that, and it kind of comes together. And it was right after I finished it that I realized I was actually just venting. Like, this wasn't about empowering women at all. This was just me taking like all the troubles that I was having at home and just like putting it out there through art. Like this was a completely personal experience for me, And it's crazy because my mother went to the exhibition and my sisters went. They didn't I didn't tell them about it, but they're on my Facebook. They saw the event and like they went and they loved it. They took pictures of the whole thing, and they got very emotional. My sister that night, she's like, Nuhash, come over, let's have some dudh bhat kola and like let's talk, And my mom got really emotional, and she she bought a lot of she loved it so much that she bought a lot of prints at the exhibition, which weren't even mine. They were like other artists. So she spent a lot of money, and we have like all these prints at home now. But I guess that was supposed to be like a really sweet moment for me, and in a sense it was, just because I finally found a way to express myself through what I was doing. But there was still this like itching feeling, because I felt like I had to put on this entire display. Like, I had to put on an entire exhibition just to express my feelings with someone who just lives with me, Like, it's like so difficult for us to communicate with people that we put on these huge shows and just hope the right person sees it, And that's kind of why I wanted to do this panel, because it's like we all have our own internal exhibitions every day, and we're just hoping like the right person comes across it and sees it and is like affected by it, And sometimes we find healthy ways of doing it, and sometimes I think we find really unhealthy ways of expressing ourselves, of venting. And I think art, for me, it's not always the most productive way to express myself. It's not always the most convenient or effective, but like it keeps me from self-destruction, right? And I think that's worth something, because I feel like there could be worse ways of me expressing, there could be worse ways of venting, and I think art sort of helps me stay grounded and find a way to deal with my problems and put myself out there that's like a little accessible, So yeah, it's just like when I have a pencil or a pen in my hand, I won't be moving my hands as much, and I'll just have something to do, really. So yeah, that's me. Like, and that's why I felt like this is kind of necessary for all of us to do.
So who's cooking for you now?
We actually have a new Kala.
Good.
Oh, I should mention that Kala, she actually gave the money back later. She didn't. That's why I said borrowed. She cashed it back afterwards. So she's sweet. She's nice.
Sweet.